Well, hey guys, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Megan Hardy, and I'm here with a very special guest today, Miss Casey Miller. And I don't know if you
Hello.
know Casey, but hello. We actually used to share last names. Miller was my maiden name. So just
Really? Let's
fun
go.
fact. Let's go. But for those of you who do not know Casey, she is the CEO and founder of Thriving On, which is a health and fitness coaching company. And Casey was also a nationally competitive weightlifter. She was born and raised in the Midwest and is a lover of steaks, street tacos, sushi, and cookies. I'm like, okay, girl after my own heart. And today, Casey is going to be talking with us, you guys, about her story and sharing some of her just personal story overcoming an eating disorder and borderline alcoholism. And she's also going to be sharing her knowledge and experience surrounding chronic stress, high cortisol, and how that really affects our goals, hormones, and even our relationship with food. So we are in for a real treat today. And Casey, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, it's my pleasure. And spot on. 100%. I do love steak and cookies and sushi. Oh, also, I keep forgetting to add ceviche. That's my new obsession lately.
Okay, I have to ask, how do you, I think I've had the wrong ceviche. I've maybe not had it from the right place because I love, like, what kind of ceviche do you get? Is like shrimp and like mango, or like what's in your ceviche? Because
So I like all different kinds. So I have really close friends that like go to Mazatlan, Mexico all the time. And so they always rave about how great the ceviche is there. And so like I also got it from Mexico too. I think it's also quality. But when we went to a restaurant together, that was, well, I used to live in Omaha. We went there and they had so many types of ceviche and they ordered all of them. And I loved them all. Like it was so great. So there was like some with shrimp with mango, or there was some with like sea bass and scallops and all that stuff. It's just basically like raw fish mixed with different types of vegetables and like lime juice and seasonings and all that stuff too. And here's the cool part is that sometimes you can get it in almost like a Bloody Mary style, but like a Mexico style, where they put like a bunch of tequila and then they put like that tomato base mix into
oh
it,
my
plus
gosh,
a ceviche. Oh my God.
that sounds
like,
good. I
it
could get
was like
down.
a whole dinner in one cup, the drink, the food, everything. It was so good.
But see,
So
I'm like, I like all those things, but I don't know. I think I've just tried the wrong ceviche. Maybe it was too like,
probably
not mint. What's the other, like, maybe, what is that? What's the other?
cilantro.
Cilantro. It might've been too
Yeah,
much cilantro. I don't know.
maybe.
I don't
Yeah, like
know, but
with fish, especially raw fish, like the quality's got to be there. It's like sushi. Like you know that sushi that you can get at the gas station versus like when you go on the coast and you actually get like sushi
yeah,
or like go to an authentic restaurant. Like it's like two different types of quality kind of a thing. So maybe it's
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give some more another try. I think I always go to restaurants and then I'm like, because of my prior experience with one or two ceviches, I don't, I need to give more a try and give it a shot. But I
I
also
think
did
this is
not
just
realize.
I think this
Oh,
is just your sign to go to Mexico and get ceviche.
I mean,
Just
there's
book a
that too.
trip.
Okay, well, that's actually another question I would be
Yeah.
worried about. We went to Barbados for a late honeymoon that because we were COVID wedding,
Mhm.
couple. So delayed honeymoon as of this year. And finally took our trip and I got some kind of food poisoning or something the first night. It was so bad. But I was wondering, I was like, do you eat in different countries and stuff? Do you eat the raw fish and whatnot there? Or
So I
like a
actually went to
little.
Barbados as well. Like a long time ago. It was actually for a meet that I competed at for USA. And so when I was there, I'll be honest with you, I did not eat anything but what I packed because I had to make weight. So I'm not going to be a very good source on that. But I know that my
Ah,
friends, when they go to Mexico, they go every single year. They do eat the authentic food, but they also are very, very good friends with the locals because they've been doing it since like day number one of getting married. So they know all the local
fun,
people and know where to go. But like,
fun.
yeah, outside of that, I travel a lot within the States, but one of my goals is to start traveling internationally. But yeah, like I'm not a good source on that. Don't ask me.
Don't quote me.
Yeah.
Wait, but
Yeah.
you went to Barbados for a weightlifting
Yeah.
competition?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
really?
So
That
yeah.
surprises me in Barbados.
Yeah. So what happened was, the Bayesian team wanted to host a meet to see if they potentially could host like bigger meets within, the IFW. So it's International Federation of Weightlifting. And so it's kind of like a trial run. And so Team USA was like, hey, does any lifters want to try to qualify to go lift for Team USA at this meet that they're putting on as a trial run? And so we got to fly out there and we got to stay at a resort. We lifted at the meet that they put on, and it was a really great experience.
So
But yeah,
cool.
like they typically don't hold it. But like honestly, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Um,
So cool.
this is like a little rabbit hole, but I'm going to say this because it was really cool. So their weightlifting team, their training hall, it's what's called a training hall within weightlifting. And if you're listening to you don't know what weightlifting is, it's the sport of Olympic weightlifting. So it's like the snatch and the clean and jerk. Been in the Olympics for a very long time. It's like an OG sport. And so when you go there into the training hall where the athletes train, their training hall is what's called the hole in day wall, DE, the hole in the wall. And it is a brick building outside
All in
of
the
their,
wall.
I think it's their local high school, like track and field. So I think it was supposed to be like a storage place for all like the mowing and the like chalks and like the lines and things like that they use for the keeping the field primed and everything like that for games. And so they makeshifted, they made everything by hand, the platforms that you lift on. Some of the
Super
strength
cool.
equipment was made, like everything was rusted. There was no air conditioning, nothing. Like I walked in
Oof.
with the mistake of wearing my hair like in a ponytail on my back and wearing pants with a sports bra. That was too much clothing.
Yeah.
Like I should have worn like fucking bikini or some shit because I was like drenched in sweat and my hair was just plastered everywhere. But it was so much fun because like the athletes, they just like they didn't care. They don't like, sometimes you get to these elite athlete level and they get a little picky,
Mm.
is a nice way to say it. And so when you go into that area where they're like, I don't give a shit who you are, you put it down, let's go. I like it. Who cares what the bar is like? Who cares what the weight is like? Like just get it done. That
Yes.
type of
Love that.
grit and grind, I always respect that. That was such a wonderful experience. And they were so much fun. They were so welcoming. They made fun of me and teased me, which is a way to get to my heart right there. Like, so it was a really great experience. So
That's so cool. Well, it's hot. When I thought you were going to say that your hair was down, because I know a lot about you were saying it was even too hot for it to be in a ponytail and
I had it
barely
like in a
touching your
mid
back.
ponytail and it was
Yeah.
just like, it was disgusting. So
I'm like, I cannot work out with my hair down. I'm like, I get too sweaty, but I'm like, ponytail, I do sometimes, but even that's that little bit that drags my back. I'm like, ooh, gross.
100% totally
Need a
relate to that.
bun. Well, also, so, and I would love for you to share just your story and we can
Mhm.
kind of start off there, but like, also even how you, and if this is a part of the story, you can just throw it in, but I would love to know too, when and how did you get into Olympic weightlifting in your
Yeah.
journey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that can be definitely 100% part of the story.
Yeah. So go
So
back to
let's
square
just
one or
square one, little baby Casey.
yes, baby Casey.
So like me and you know that there's a lot of fitness professionals that have just been healthy their whole life.
Mhm.
That was not my story at all. Like I've struggled with my weight, I've struggled with my relationship with food and myself since I can remember, from a very young age. And it wasn't necessarily because I wanted to be super skinny and it wasn't like, I was like trying to be a supermodel or anything like that. I had an older brother whom I love. Like he is absolutely amazing. He's one of my heroes, but he was also the star athlete. He was also the star person that everybody loved. And he was so charismatic. And I was always his little sister. Like I was never as good
Oh,
as him, as an athlete. I was never as charismatic. People didn't really like me. I was like short and chubby and I had acne and I was awkward and like super, super shy. Like my parents were like, therapy question mark. Like I wouldn't talk to anybody,
oh.
which people are like, no, I don't believe you. I'm like, seriously, the shyest ever. And so all I wanted to do was just be out of the shadow. I just wanted people to recognize me. I wanted to be an athlete. And I thought in my brain, like if I looked like him, if I was good at sports like him, if I was charismatic like him, all these different things, that I would then be my own person. And so I started resorting to what I knew. And I grew up in the 90s. And when we grew up in the 90s, like if you weren't stick thin, you weren't
Yep.
beautiful. If you didn't have a thigh gap, you were fat.
Yeah.
Like my nickname was Bacon and Thunder Thighs growing up. Like kids can be mean. And so all this pressure coming on me, I just resorted to what I knew. It was like diet culture bullshit, right? Like what we saw in magazines, and like models basically bulimic or anorexic were considered beautiful. So like I started resorting to these things and trying these things because that's literally all I knew. Nobody was talking about nutrition. Nobody was talking about fitness. My parents, they did the best that they could,
Mm-mm.
but nobody ever taught them anything. So I started to develop this really bad disordered eating patterns. And eventually as I got older, it blew into a full-blown eating disorder. From the very young age of 12, I started becoming bulimic, and I would even have points in my life where I was like binging and purging. And it was just
Mm.
like then became the extreme yo-yo dieter. Like I would get really thin because I just like hate myself into the body that I wanted, but then eventually I'd give up and I get like depressed and anxious. And a lot of times when people deal with depression, anxiety, they overeat or try to cope with their emotions in a certain way, like drinking. And then I would gain weight, and then I would lose weight and gain weight. And so it was this perpetual cycle of a binge and purge and hating myself and giving up. And it was just like I was the extreme yo-yo dieter.
Mm.
And we both know this: when problems don't get addressed, it only gets worse, right? Like
Yep.
things don't get better when you brush it underneath the rug. And that's what happened to me as I got older. My eating disorder got worse and worse and worse. My body dysmorphia got worse and worse and worse. My self-worth started getting worse and worse. And so by the time I got to college, it was its worst, at like rock bottom. It was bad. And like I struggled, like my eating disorder ruled pretty much every single thing in my mind. By the time I was in college, I was a college athlete. So I was also an athlete my whole life. And it was because I knew from a very young age that there was this pressure to get a scholarship. Like if we didn't grow up with a lot of money, and my parents, like, freaking love them to death for doing this for me. Because they didn't have a lot of things in life, they promised that they would pay for everything when we went to college. We never would have to deal with debt like they had
Mhm.
to, which I love them for that so much. I'm
Yeah.
very, very fortunate. But then I also saw them working their asses off all the time, working ungodly amounts of hours, trying to be able to facilitate this promise that they made to us. And so our part was just to get a scholarship in some way, was whether it was athletic or academic. And mine turned out to be athletic. And so by the time I got to college, I was a college athlete. And this was truly my dream in life. I wanted to be an athlete. But by the time I got to college, I also was like, because I was treating my body like shit so bad that like I kept getting injured. I was getting anxious
Yep.
and depressed. My grades were failing, all these different things. I started resorting to alcohol a lot because I didn't want to feel the emotions that I was feeling. And so I was like, hey, this alcohol thing makes me feel better. And I start talking and people start liking me. Let's start drinking a bunch. So I became
Especially
like,
as the introvert or shy person, it's like, oh,
oh yeah.
definitely.
Like I come out of my shell. Like I'm like, woo. Um, and so, yeah, so I became borderline alcoholic. I have friends that are recovering alcoholics, and they're like, I wouldn't say that you're a recovering alcoholic. I would say that you are a baby alcoholic. That's what
Mm.
apparently that's what they use as a reference to people that where I was at. So it's not a good place. And I also tolerated like an abusive relationship. I was in an abusive relationship for 3 years, mentally and physically. And um, it was just like I was in a huge pit of anxiety and depression that I was digging myself, like shovel in hand,
Mm.
digging myself in there. And what got me out of that hole was hitting rock bottom. And it's an unfortunate thing. I wish that I didn't have to wait until rock bottom to make change, but that's typically the MO. A lot of
Yep.
times people just have to hit rock bottom in order to really see the light and start being open to creating change. And so
Mm.
uh, there are a few instances that led into it, but like some of those instances, like I'm still not comfortable talking about. It's like between me and a professional kind of a conversation.
Yeah.
But like one
Understand.
of the big ones that I do feel comfortable talking about is like a big rock bottom, a big catalyst to get me to be open to change was I was found an hour and a half outside of town in a ditch in the middle of a farm field. I had no idea where I was. I had no idea how I got there. And it was because I was drinking and driving. The night before, I was at a party, and I got in a fight with my abusive ex-boyfriend, and like, I knew I had to get out of there. Even if I shouldn't have been driving, I was like, no, like, I need to get out of here. So I jumped in a car and I blacked out and woke up out there and had 1% on my phone and zero gas in my tank. And luckily, after about 30 minutes of being stranded, a lovely man in a tractor drove by and was like, you need help? And I'm like, yes.
Okay.
Like, he gave me his phone and I called my
Oh,
dad, and he pulled me out of the ditch and told my dad where I was and how to get to me. And my dad is like my best friend. He is my
no.
hero. He has, no matter how bad it got, he was always there. Like, obviously trying to give me kicks in the butt that I definitely needed, but just didn't listen to. But he was always there. And I remember him coming out of the truck, and like, he wasn't mad. He wasn't yelling. There was just a pure terror on his face. Like,
Oh,
it was heartbreaking seeing yourself let somebody so important in your life down over and over and over and over and over again. And that was the moment. And that was actually the day that I was supposed to be meeting my new college coach to potentially get a scholarship to another school.
oof.
Because the school that I previously went to was this like really, really like private school that was expensive. Even if I had a 90% scholarship, I couldn't afford it. Like, we couldn't afford it. I saw my parents like barely scraping by, and I was like, I can't do this to them. I'm fucking up anyways. I'm not even playing because I keep getting injured. Might as well just transfer to some place that's near home and cheaper. And so I was about to meet my new coach. I met my new coach completely fucking drunk. I
Oh my
reeked of
gosh.
alcohol. Like,
Oh
I
my
talked to my coach
gosh.
later, and she's like, oh, I knew you were still fucking drunk. And I was like, why'd you still give me a scholarship?
Yeah,
That's
that's what I was
weird.
thinking.
My dad was just like, you better not fuck this shit up. And I
So
was like
yeah.
trying not to throw up this whole time. And so, yeah, like, after that whole day, I was just like, I'm tired of letting you guys down. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of living this life. I'm tired of hating what I look like in the mirror and who I am. I don't even recognize myself. And I know for a fact, because like, one of the things that my dad said is like, I don't know what else to do. I've exhausted every single little thing I could think of. It's up to you. Either you're going to jail or you're changing your life. It's in your hands now. And when I heard that, that was like, yeah, I need to change. Like, I can't keep doing this to the people that I love. And that was like a big lesson that I learned, is that like, how you treat your body and your mind doesn't just affect you. It affects every single person around you.
Yeah.
Everything that's super important to you. Like, you are the foundation to everything that you achieve. And that was like the moment that I realized it. I was like, because I'm treating myself like shit, I'm also treating other people like shit. And so if I'm going to treat other people the way that they deserve, I need to start treating myself the way that I deserve. And so
Amen. Yep.
I like, I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to change? And like, one of the things was like, you need to get back into shape. If you're going to get the scholarship and you're going to be able to like, just take care of yourself, like, get back into shape. I was like,
Was that the
okay.
hypothetical question to yourself, or were you asking?
No, that was my dad. I was
Oh,
talking
that
to my
was your
dad, and he's like,
dad.
you need to get back into shape.
Yeah.
And it was true. I did. As an athlete, I did. And
I did.
so he was like, you're going to do this thing called CrossFit. So there's one down the road. I already told him you're coming in. I paid. I'm like,
This
what
thing
the
called
fuck is
CrossFit.
CrossFit? Like, I've never heard it in my life. He pulled up YouTube and pulled up the CrossFit Games. And I was like, what? Like, we're doing bar muscle ups, pull ups, or running. And I was like, dude, if you asked me to run 400 meters, I would throw up right now. Like, I'm so out of shape. I cannot do this. I was like above 200 pounds, like pre-diabetic. Like, it was not a good situation there. And for reference, like 200 pounds for my frame is not healthy. Right. And so it was just in a good position. And so I remember about to walk into the gym, and I was like shaking and crying. Like, I was so scared. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what if they hate me? What if I throw up?
Yep.
What if they
Yeah.
make me try to do something and I hurt myself? But also like, what if I fail my parents again? Is this another thing that I'm just not going to follow through with? Like, just all these self-limiting beliefs like were coming through. And luckily my dad scares me more than what I felt in that car. So I got my ass out, even if I was bawling, and I walked right in. And that was the day that literally everything changed for me.
Had
every
you done prior to that? Had you been like a big fad diet or anything? Like I love
Oh
also
yeah.
even what you said, you were like and when was the change or the mindset shift for you? Was it at this point? Because earlier, which I was like, wow, that's a really powerful way to say it. You're like, I
Hmm.
was trying to hate myself into the body I wanted or hate myself
Hmm.
into being skinny. And I think
Hmm.
that's the case for so many women and probably so
Yeah.
many of people listening to this is they're trying to hate
Hmm.
themselves into it.
Hmm.
And working from that place versus like, how can I benefit my life, my body, the people around me because I love my body. But when
Yeah.
was the shift for you? Was it at this point that you're like, okay, I'm doing this the right
About,
way?
yeah, it was about this shift. Like when I was younger, I would like sneak my mom's diet pills. She also tried Jenny Craig, which is another really
Yep.
popular thing that was around that time that we all know does not work for a majority of the population. You end up losing the weight to gain it back. And I would sneak her bars and her meals all the time. She'd always yell at me for that.
Yeah.
I
So
would
did my
also do
mom.
like, yeah, like the lean cuisines that was technically like really healthy for you at that time. So I remember only eating like 3 a day, which is like not even 800 calories or 900 calories within the
Yeah.
day. And so like, yeah, I lost a lot of weight, but then I gained it back because I felt like shit and I wanted food. And also I drank a lot at that time too.
Yep.
Um, and also like other fad like fitness things. Like I tried Insanity and all that online like video DVD stuff that was really popular at that time that just wasn't sustainable for me. And so like around that time when I walked in the gym, like I think, yeah, it was just like being surrounded by people and asking more questions because I saw these people being super fit and taking care of themselves. I started asking them what they were doing. And around that time, like the zone was really big and things like that. So I wouldn't say that was like the final solution for me, but it was a really great start just to learn what to put on my plate and how to break things down. So
Mm,
that's how I started really getting to know food and things like that and start trial and error and trying to figure out what worked for me. But like that was like mainly the big catalyst right there. The big change was like the fitness side of things, right? Which
very
we
nice.
both know like it's both nutrition and fitness. It needs to go hand in hand for it to work. They work synonymously
Hmm.
together. And so, but I was getting the fitness side of things down. Like I lost over 50 pounds. I was doing cool shit in the gym I never thought possible. Like I was climbing ropes. I did like a strict pull up. It was great.
Yes.
And I started getting really athletic and started doing local competitions. And it just like it fed into the athletic like background of things. And I was like, cool, if I can do this, I can do that. I can do this, I can do that. And like also the people though, too. Like the physical side of things was really dope. Like, don't get me wrong, but what I'm most proud of is the mental side of things, the change that
Mm,
I saw on that side of things. Like I was just like the community was everything. Like just being surrounded by the right people is by far one of the most game-changing things that you can ever do. The best investment, I truly believe this is investing in who you surround yourself with in terms of community, mentors, coaches, or all three. That is one way to fast track your life like that. Like
yep.
seriously, it is phenomenal. And that's what happened to me. I got surrounded by people that had like really, really high standards for themselves. They treated their body right, their mind right. They took care of themselves. They didn't stay out late and drink. We woke up early and got into the gym. They read, they dared to dream and all that stuff. And then they started pushing me to do it because they saw potential. They're like, nah, dude, like that self-limiting belief shit, get that out of the window. You think you can't do a rope climb?
Yes.
Bullshit. Watch you do it. Like they just kept pushing me and pushing me. And every single time that I met them with resistance, they didn't take my shit. They only pushed back and they only demanded the best out of me. And that gave me so much courage. Like it got me the courage to start taking care of myself, to get me out of that bad friends group that I was stuck with. I stopped partying. I started sleeping. I got out of that abusive relationship, which was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. Like it completely transformed me mentally and physically as a person. Like it
So
was
amazing.
amazing experience. But like, so here's the next step. So during that time, when I was getting into the CrossFit side of things, I was like, I like this whole coaching thing. Let's give it a try. So I started fitness coaching and I started getting these CrossFit certifications that were really popular when CrossFit was really growing. And one of the certifications that I was getting was a weightlifting certification. And the gentleman that
There
was
we
running that
go.
certification, like in that certification, you have to lift. Not only do you have to learn how to teach other people how to do it, but you also have to apply it yourself. And so I was lifting in front of him and I could see him in this corner of my eye, like looking at me. And he was like, huh, and walked away. I was like, what's going on? And so at the end
Yeah.
of the whole certification, he came out to me. He's like, how much do you lift? And I'm like, this much. And he's like, how much do you weigh? Because like weightlifting is a weight class sport. So how much you weigh is actually like, it's not a bad
Important.
question to ask
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
athlete. It's part of the sport. And so I told him how much I weigh, and he's like, huh, you're kind of strong. Do you want to try this thing called weightlifting? And I was like, sure. Fuck it. Why not? Let's go.
Yeah.
And so he was like, okay, great. And it was like 0 to 100. He was like, fly out to New York, do this competition, qualify for this national event. Then like, let's qualify for another national event. Let's do training camps in New York. And this whole time I'm like, fuck it, let's go. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like I legit, and I was poor as fuck. I made it happen though. I lived in the gym. I coached classes at the gym so I could afford it. And that's when I started coaching nutrition too, because I was starting to dive into more nutrition stuff. I was like, I'm an athlete. Like I need to figure out this nutrition stuff. And also if I want to coach other people, I need to know more about nutrition myself as well. And so that was when I started getting into the side of things of getting coaching, learning what it means to actually put in my body, tracking all these different things. And so the unfortunate thing is, and I'm sure that you've seen this or experienced this yourself as going through your own personal journey. There's a lot of coaches that do it right, but there's just not enough.
Yep.
And so I was met with a lot of bullshit the whole time. It was like coaches that were doing surface level bullshit. Like I wasn't there struggling because I didn't know the perfect protein breakdown. Like I had disordered eating patterns. I had a bunch of other things that are like beyond the surface level bullshit that majority of the population were struggling with too. And so I was working with these coaches that were giving me surface level connection, surface level like information and surface level results. And so of course I was going to fail and gain it back. And it was like, okay, that's another promise I just broke to myself. So my confidence started going down, and then I started really pushing my body and try to make weight. And I was working with coaches that had honestly no idea what they were doing in terms of like internal health, the stress that it is put on the body when you are being a high level athlete, and also recovery and cutting weight and making weight and all that stuff. They ended up making me worse than when I started. Like my eating disorder tendencies started coming back. I started losing muscle. I started getting hurt all the time. Like I made weight, but I honestly felt like shit and I didn't perform. When you're a weight class athlete, it's not just one, like the coach's job is not to just make you make weight, but also perform at the same time, right? It doesn't means jack shit if you make weight, but you can't even lift the weights you're supposed to be lifting. The coach is supposed to be responsible for both actions. And I performed like shit. And over a course of a period of time, I started getting these symptoms. It's like my hair started falling out. I lost my period. I started getting acne. I started getting hair in places that like I never got before. I was moody. I was irritable. I had zero libido. Like, and mind you, like I'm always 100% transparent. Like this was also really affecting my ability to coach. I was moody all the time. So I started losing clients. I was also like horrible to be around. So like a lot of my friends were like,
No, thanks. We're
wanna
good.
talk. Yeah. And it put a huge strain on my marriage. Like I'm currently divorced right now. And so like, I really do think that one of the big catalysts as to why we grew apart is because of that moment, because I treated myself like shit. And like hormonally, like things were not great. And so I myself was like a shit significant other, and he was dealing his own things. And so we decided to just like grow apart. Like he even told me, he's like, when you left out of town for like competitions, it was like a relief. And I was like, I'm so sorry that I did that to you. It was just not a good situation. And so like I went to my nutrition coach. I'm like, all these things are happening. And she's like, it's just the stress of making weight. You're fine. Keep going. And so eventually it just got to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore. Like I couldn't sleep. I had so much anxiety and like struggling with depression, which is like huge symptoms of hormonal issues. And so by the time I couldn't take it anymore, over a course period of time of trial and error, I finally started working with a specialist that knew what they're talking about when it comes to hormonal health and stress and things like that. And I asked them, I was like, did I do this myself? And they're like 100%. They're like, if you had somebody that knew how to coach you properly, day number one, you wouldn't be in this situation where you're paying thousands of dollars out of pocket to cover hormonal medication that isn't covered by insurance, by the way. Yeah, it put me in this shit position where I'm just like, this is more than just me looking good naked, guys. This is literally my dreams, my livelihood, my marriage, everything. And nobody's freaking taking it seriously. Nobody cares. It's just surface level bullshit left and right. Right. And so I got pissed. I got so mad at what was happening to me. So I decided to do something about it. I decided to become the coach that people deserve, that take this seriously, that actually care about people, that understand how like stress affects their body, how hormonal health affects their body, and also relationship with food, just like hitting everything that typically people are struggling with right now and giving them the services that they deserve.
Mm.
And so like that's what brought me here today, where I run Thriving On and have an amazing staff of people that I absolutely freaking love, and lots of clients that are absolutely crushing it and love seeing that, and like super, super proud. Like I remember distinctly everything I wrote down on a piece of paper in the middle of my living room. I had an air mattress on the floor. Like I had zero money when I was an athlete when this was going on. And like riding down on my air mattress, it was like pretty much almost deflated at that moment, everything I would do differently.
Oh,
And I remember pulling that out, like, I think about a year and a half ago. And I was like, I remember like, check, 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 check. And like, today we're achieving more than I ever thought possible.
it's
And it's
amazing.
like, yeah, it's a freaking roller coaster, and it's so awesome.
But
So
it is so awesome. So
it
when
is.
you were to rewind, so when
Yeah.
you were starting to have more of the hormonal issues, it was when you were trying to make weight and competing and whatnot.
Yeah.
During that time, how much time would you say you were spending like in the gym and working out and
Yeah. And
noting
mind you,
that?
I've probably like looking back at it now that I've been learning more, like I've been spending the past couple of years learning more about hormonal health ever since my journey. And like when I started looking at some of the symptoms and some of the side effects of like hormonal balance, I've probably been dealing with it majority of my life. I've never had a regular period. And if I did, I was like on
Mm,
the floor. Women, like ladies, it's not supposed to be that way.
no.
What is common, it does not mean it's normal. There's a lot of women out there
Yep.
that have very bad periods, and it's common, but that's just a reflection on how unhealthy we are as a society and how we normalize certain things. And like I also always struggled with my weight. So one of the things I was diagnosed with is hypothyroidism, which does heavily affect your metabolism and also your energy
Yep.
and things like that. And so I think in some manner I've been struggling with hormonal issues my whole life, but it was like almost intolerable by the time that I was an athlete. I think it just exacerbated
Yep.
everything that was already going on. But yeah, so like at that time when I was a full-time athlete, like this is my literal schedule. And I look back at it, I'm like, how the fuck did I do this?
Yeah.
I would wake up at like 4:30 because I lived in the gym, and mind you, the gym was in Brooklyn, New York. So like in Brooklyn, New York, it is tight. There's not a lot of space. So my room that I slept in was a literal closet.
Nice.
They made a closet into a bunk bed. So it's this tiny little room that I would shut. You would open it up, and it's like the upstairs loft area. You go to the next door, and it's a bathroom. The next door was a shower. The next door was the PT room. And then there was like a little common area for all the coaches where there's a TV, a mini sink, a mini dishwasher, and a mini fridge. And so I would just live up there for
So
weeks and months at a time.
when you
So
step out of your bed, you step out of your room, basically.
yeah,
In the
basically it was like, and I didn't step out of my bed. I had to climb
climb
down or
out of
jump down.
it.
Like I was in the middle, like it was as tall as me. I'd have to like jump up there some way. And so I'd wake up at like 5:30 out of my closet and go and get dressed, and I'd go downstairs and I would coach a morning class or something like that. I would pitch in there. And then I would at like 8 a.m. Would go and train for about like 2 to 3 hours. Then I would go upstairs, and by that time I couldn't sleep. Like most of the time it's like go nap, and I was so like wired and tired that whole time I couldn't sleep. And
Mhm.
so I would pretend to sleep, but then I would just actually be working on my online business, so trying to do nutrition coaching and struggling massively because I just like had so much brain fog and like couldn't do anything.
Mm.
And then I would go and coach again. And then we would start training again at maybe like 3:30 or 4. And I'd probably be training about like 2 to 3 or 4 hours at that time.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah. And that was like, I would do 2 a days, like 5 days a week. It would alter just depending on how tired I was in our schedule. But like on average, there were times where like I was really peaking. I would be doing 2 a days, 5 days a week. And then on my days off, I'd be doing like hot yoga, because I thought hot yoga,
Yeah.
I can do that and it'll help me recover. And little did I know, it was actually making things worse than actually better. And so, yeah, it was just that over a period of time, my body just was too stressed out. It couldn't handle it anymore. It just gave up. Like I just kept getting injured and sick all the time. And it just kept getting worse and worse. It was bad. So
So that really just exacerbated what was probably already underneath the surface
yeah.
from long before that. And then
Mhm.
uncovering the hypothyroidism
Yeah.
in there too. And I was one of those girls too that had the terrible PMS symptoms, and I just thought it was normal and go to my doctor. And of course they put me on birth control. Literally, that's why I got a birth control at the time, was just to
Yeah.
cover up the PMS symptoms. And then I'm like, it wasn't until I got into nutrition coaching that I'm like, oh, that's not normal. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember that too. Like that was another thing, is I like had horrible PMS symptoms when I was younger. So that's why I went on birth control, and also to control my acne. And also like when I was trying to get into like learning more about hormones, because I was experiencing all these symptoms, like I remember going to doctor's offices and they're looking at my blood work and they're like, you're within quote unquote normal ranges, you're
Yep.
fine. And I'm like, bitch, my hair is falling out and I
Yeah.
cannot sleep and I am anxious and depressed and all this shit. I am not fine. Like I just remember like feeling defeated in the car and crying because I didn't feel like I was being heard. And I remember actually going to a specialist that looks at like actual optimal levels, which if you're not familiar, really quick, anybody that's listening, there's conventional levels and there's optimal levels. And so the difference, just making it super simple, is conventional levels is based off of the average American. They take a bunch of like data and then they make the average for the average American. Well, the average American eats
Ain't
McDonald's like
healthy.
I don't know how many times a week, does not work out, does not walk, does not sleep, is chronically stressed.
Yep.
Like they're surviving, probably on the brink of chronic disease, or already dealing with it right now.
They're
And
surviving.
so,
They're not thriving, right?
yes, exactly. They're surviving. They're not living, they're surviving. And so optimal levels is based off of current research. So this is without, not within conventional medicine. This is optimal levels based off of current research today to help you live optimally. So a lot of times when people are going to conventional doctors or their endocrinologists or things like that, a lot of things get missed, or they get misdiagnosed, or they don't get any treatment that they need because of the ranges that they're using. And even then, that's one of the reasons why we do blood work with our clients. And this is what happened with me, is like, no matter what, like if you are dealing with a hormonal imbalance, you're like chronically stressed, or you had pre-existing hormonal issues beforehand, it doesn't matter. Like you can take medication, like I'm taking HRT right now, but I fully understand that this is more symptom management. This is
Mm-hmm.
not addressing the root cause as to why I am here. There are some things, like I will always be on thyroid medication for the rest of my life. It is what it is, right? But the other medication that I do take, it is understood that I'm taking this right now so I can just function and address the issues that I'm dealing with right now. And eventually I'm going to be getting off of them. I've actually just
Yep.
signed up with a new practitioner that's going to be helping me do that. And
Nice.
so, like even then, like you want to look at optimal levels, but also have the perspective that if you want to move the needle in the right direction, if you want to stay out of the doctor's office, if you don't want to be on medication for the rest of your life that comes with its own symptoms, like always be addressing the nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle, because that is what's going to get you there. Like majority of hormonal imbalances is self-induced. You did it to yourself through lots of stress or things like that. So like you can get yourself out of it. And it's again, nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and also like mental health and things like that, your mindset and things like that. You can help move the needle in the right direction, which is something that we're talking about today. So
Yeah, which is something we're talking about today. Well, not actually, a client comes to mind who was just, it's been having some PMS issues, symptoms crop up, didn't have a period for a long time, finally got it back. And now it's having like heavy PMS symptoms. And it's like her doctor's first recommendation is to go back on birth control. And it's like, that's just a Band-Aid for what's underneath with going on with hormones. So like, how can we address it from nutrition, lifestyle, activity,
exactly.
all of those things naturally? Cause like, as soon as you come off birth control again, you're going to have the same symptoms crop up. It's not actually taking
Exactly.
care of anything. What would be, before we jump into our next
Yeah.
topic, what would be your recommendation for anyone who is, because I think when people do get labs, they just like, the only thing they know to do is to go to their doctor and request whatever their doctor is willing to give them. And then it is just those, average ranges. It's not looking at optimal. What would you suggest someone do if they are looking for better lab and diagnostics to look
Yeah.
at like optimal ranges? Like where could they
Yeah.
go?
Yeah. So I will share what we do. And then also like what I did when I first started. So like, what we do is when you first start, you want to make sure that you're getting a comprehensive panel. I think that's like a big thing. So when you go to your doctor, you typically only get about 20 to 40 markers on average, and it's like the bare necessities. Like it's not really even it doesn't really even dive into like thyroid health or sex hormones or things like that. And so you don't get a comprehensive look into it. And so a lot of things get missed. So I would start with an extremely comprehensive panel. Like within Thriving On, we do about 60 to 80 markers just to take a look at everything just to start out with, because you don't know what you don't know. If you never looked underneath the hood, how do you know what's
Yep.
going on? And then the second thing is that when you are doing this, make sure whoever is looking at it is looking at it at optimal levels. So that way they can see things that might be getting missed. So that's what our functional nutritionist and staff does. You can get this blood work done. So there are some people that do have really wonderful doctors. I'm not trying to poop on conventional medicine. We actually have a lot of healthcare workers that work with us and we love them. We love coaching them, but even then they understand that it's a systemic issue. You can have all
Yep.
the wonderful intentions in the world, but there's only so much that they can do within the system of conventional medicine. And a lot of them are frustrated just as much as everybody else. And so when you go outside of conventional medicine, you can order your own blood work. There's online companies that can do that. And you can even like order like a comprehensive panel too. We work with what's called health labs, and we actually personalize those labs. So that way we can get all the markers that it's like a comprehensive, it's more than just hormonal health. It's like a lot of different like ApoB and all these things that are super important in terms of just looking at your quality of life and vitality and independence in long term. And then from there, once you get a comprehensive look at optimal levels. And I would also encourage you to make sure that you're talking to someone that can take that information, tell you what that means, break it down super simple on the first like big rocks you should be addressing, and then tell you what to do with nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle first. You always want to try to address
Mhm.
the holistic approach. Not always. I want to take that back. That's very black and white. Majority of people would benefit from just addressing nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle. There are some people that really are just in a position where mentally and physically they can't function like I did. And while you can address the nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle, there's some people like just to get them to feel normal, period. Like I had to start taking progesterone because I couldn't sleep, period. Like
Mm.
in order for me to improve progesterone, I needed to sleep, but I couldn't sleep because my progesterone was in the tank. So that's like, there's some exceptions where sometimes you do need to do that, but no matter what, please get a specialist that knows how to take a more of a preventative approach in that, with the outcome in mind that they want to get you off of that stuff and not keep it on for the rest of your life.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I think
like,
that's
that's
the
a big
biggest
thing.
differentiator because people think
Mhm,
like, oh, it's just hormone replacement therapy. I'll just stay on it,
mhm,
whatever. But instead of like treating it more like using medicine and things like hormone replacement therapy, like
mhm.
for acute symptoms and
Wellness.
things, and then
Yeah.
working towards
Yeah.
coming off of it at some
Yeah.
point.
At least
Yeah.
as best as possible. Like I said
Yeah.
before, I will be on thyroid medication for the rest of my life. It is what it is. But I'm proud of the fact that I exhausted every option that I could before
Yes.
resorting to that. Um, and
Good.
then from there, like one of the things that is a different between working with, let's say, like a functional nutritionist or a practitioner or something like that, is that when you go to a doctor, they give you this, they're like ranges, and people are like, "Ah, what does this all mean?" Like I see reds and they're like, wow, you're out of range. Here's some medication, throw at you. And then you feel overwhelmed and then you just don't want to deal with it. And period. That's how I felt. It was like,
Mhm.
I do not understand anything. I don't get any of this. And so I don't want to do anything because I feel overwhelmed. That's a common reaction.
Yep.
And so when you're working with somebody that really can just break things down, but also meet you where you're at emotionally, because a lot of people get extremely overwhelmed. They get questions like, what if this means I'm broken? What if I have to go to the hospital? Do I have to work with doctors? Does this mean that I'm sick? Like all this, like we're automatically going straight to the negative, like the worst case scenario in our brain. When you sit down with somebody, make sure that they like actually like calm you down and remind you that you are not broken and there are things that you can
Yes.
do,
So
especially
good.
nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle. Like I don't think people understand the power of your actions and your habits and how you treat your body and mind every single day and how much it can impact your overall health and your ability to stay out of the doctor's office. it is phenomenal. It is the game-changing thing that everybody's looking for, but nobody wants to take. Right.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that actually leads perfectly into, because I think even how you take care of what you said, your body and your mind plays right into also our next topic of chronic stress and high
Yes.
cortisol, and how I would also, so I'd love for you to talk about, share anything you'd like to on that, but because that's impacted from both the mind and body, like
100%.
side of things. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like whether it's perceived stress or physical stress, like fun fact, like your body cannot determine the difference between the two. So like perceived stress is like stress from job, stress from divorce, stress from social media and news and all that stuff. Like you're thinking about it, maybe poor relationship with food or things like that. And then physical stress is more like, let's say you're being attacked by a bear, right? Or like under eating, right? Or poor nutrients in the body. You're eating like a trash panda. Like alcohol is another physical stress that you're literally putting alcohol in it's a welcomed poison for some people, but it's literally a poison. Let's just be real. It's a stress, right? And so whether it's perceived or physical stress, like when your body is chronically stressed, this is when shit hits the fan and things don't go well, whether it's with whatever goal that you have, whether it's to look better naked, whether it's to perform better in the gym, whether it's to perform better mentally, because your nutrition and your fitness and your lifestyle can definitely impact that as well. Like your CEOs or people that are trying to build their own business, like your ability to treat your body right will allow you to think right and be productive and things like that. But like, whether it's to be a mother, father, everything like that, if you're chronically stressed, trust me, it's going to be real hard, or you're not going to be moving anywhere. Like there's some people that even run into weight loss resistance because they are just too stressed out. Right. But before we get into all of this, the one thing I want to point out is that stress is not bad. Like I don't want to demonize stress. I don't want to demonize cortisol. I don't want to demonize adrenaline or otherwise known as epinephrine. Like it's amazing. We need it to thrive, right? We need to be stressed in certain situations. We need to be pushed and challenged. We need to stress out our body. Like in order to create change, whatever change that you want, whether it's to build muscle, lose fat, learn more, be more productive, things like that, be more resilient to stress, you need to be exposed to stress. Yeah. Right. It's when you're not allowing yourself to go between, you can break stress. Like stress really affects your endocrine system, which is your hormones, but also your CNS, your central nervous system. And so your body switches between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, right? These are two different switches. And so you can go from rest and digest to fighting the lion, right? Right.
The lion that's not there, but that
yeah,
we feel
like
that we feel is there.
Yeah, like the survival mode. Yeah. Right. And so you want to be able to go between the two easily. But if you're constantly stressed the fuck out and you're fighting the bear all the time, that's when your body is constantly releasing cortisol. It's constantly releasing insulin. It's constantly releasing adrenaline or epinephrine. And that's when your body gets out of balance. And remember, it's hormonal balance. When your body gets out of balance, that's when shit hits the fan internally too. We want to try to create a balance within the body. And this is also like a big word called homeostasis, where your body just feels safe. Right. And so and I also want to point out there's like good stresses and there are bad stresses. And even like some good stresses that we think are really great can also become bad stresses if we do it wrong. So for example, a really good stress is let's lift some weight in the gym. Let's work out. Right? Like we're creating the stress of breaking down muscle tissue and building it back up. Or if you're trying to work on your cardio, like you're pushing your cardiovascular health to get better at that. But if you do it too much, or you're not recovering well enough, you're not sleeping, you're not eating enough protein, you're putting too much alcohol in your body and all that stuff, that's when the stress gets bad and you start regressing rather than progressing forward. So we need to make sure, like, if we're going to be putting ourselves into stress positions, we need to always follow it with a recovery, right? Yes. Otherwise, you're constantly fighting the bear, and now your body's like, and hates you. Yeah.
Only as good as your recovery, man.
Exactly. You need to recover just as hard as you're training or you're pushing. in whatever capacity in life, right? So it's like cognitively, you're pushing yourself really hard. You need to make sure that you're prioritizing sleep and good food and mental health and getting sunlight and all that stuff just as much. A lot of times, I think this is where people go wrong in their mind. If I'm in a stress situation, I therefore need to put myself on the back burner and not take care of myself. And
Mm,
when I always explain this, how the body works, it's actually, if you want to be more resilient to stress, if you want to be more productive when you're stressed, if you want to get things done and be more emotionally stable and be your best self so you can perform while you are stressed out, you need to actually prioritize yourself more during that time, not less. You're actually making it 10 times harder for you in the long run if you put yourself on the back burner. So like, for example,
yes.
I was having this conversation with the client and they're like, my dad is diagnosed with cancer. I can't focus on myself. And I was like, babe, it's the exact opposite. Like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your life, but like, think of it this way. When you first came to us, you were putting yourself on the back burner. How'd you feel every single day? She's like, I felt like fucking shit. How was your mood? I was icky. How is your
Yeah.
energy? I had zero. Do you think if you felt like that every single day because you burned yourself out, you would be your best self as a daughter to your dad when he's going through the stressful time? She's like, fuck no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, exactly. So it's like always within reason. Yes, let's dial things in, but never completely put yourself on the back burner. All we have to do is just change. If you don't have much time, okay, great. Let's fit something within that time. Like if you can't get to the gym, just move and get some sunlight. If you can't meal
Yes.
prep, just go to the place that has the best food as you can. Like just avoid the all or nothing mindset of like, if it's
Mm.
not perfect, therefore I just won't do it. Like find something, keep putting yourself in the forefront as best as possible. And trust me, your body and your mind is going to thank you later. And so
Yes.
it's a little
Yeah.
side tangent right there.
No, I the all or nothing mindset. And I feel like the working out is the perfect analogy for stress too, because
Mhm.
of like how people can either with and the all or nothing mindset. Cause either people are like, oh, I don't want to stress myself out, or I'm going to put myself on the back burner because of XYZ. My dad has
Mhm.
cancer, whatever it is. And it's like, you
Exactly.
actually need some stressor, like the workout, like it can be good and getting, like you said, even if it's just walking in sunlight or whatever.
Mhm.
But then, and I also find too, like it's either people go usually that route of like, okay, I'm just not going to do anything, totally put myself on the back burner, or
Yes.
it's like, I'm going to hate myself into the person I want to become. And I'm going to overwork out and then overly stress the body and not recover properly. It's like
Exactly.
that all or nothing with stress. Like, I love that you mentioned that some stress is a good thing. Cause I also think that's a whole other tangent we won't go down, but our culture is like, oh, what can we do to make things just easy? Like, we actually have it
Exactly.
so easy. Like our world right now, like
Oh yeah.
getting food
We're
is so,
extremely spoiled
we're so
right now.
spoiled.
We're like, oh, things are so hard. It's like,
Yeah.
no,
Like
it's
we
not.
literally don't have to leave our house for anything if we don't want to. Like it's
No,
way
like
too
this morning I
easy.
had Instacart delivered to my house because I didn't have enough time to run to Target because I ran out of something. Like we have it so easy
So
nowadays.
easy.
Like, and that's actually kind of a symptom of being high stress, which I can go through some of the symptoms because I just don't think people
Yeah,
understand
please.
what symptoms are. Like if they've never been taught, how are they supposed to know they're experiencing these symptoms? It was the same thing with my hormonal health. Like I was never taught that a period was supposed to be like kind of not hard at all. I
Yeah.
didn't know that like I was like losing my hair was not a good like it was a symptom of hormonal issues. And so just creating awareness, like it, no matter what you do, no matter what change you're trying to create, whether it's creating a better relationship with food, improving hormonal health, reducing stress or whatever, the first thing that you need to do is educate and create awareness. Because if you don't know what's going on now and you don't know how to understand it, how do you know if you're making the right changes for you? Because everybody's different. My
Yeah.
stresses are different than you. And how I'm going to address my stresses is going to be different than you too. You have to create education and awareness first. So just going through like a list, I
Good.
actually have it in front of me because I want to make sure like I touch a lot of them. Like
Yeah.
some of the symptoms, like let's just start with the physiological symptoms, right? Like increased chances of muscle breakdown and increased chances of holding on to fat. And the reason being, and I'll break it down, the reason why is because when you're chronically stressed and you're chronically releasing cortisol, that's that stress hormone that your adrenal glands will start releasing when you are fighting the bear, right? Um, when you go into that mode, you're also going into survival mode. And so when you're going to survival mode, like think about it this way, you're about to fight a bear. What do you need? You need energy. You need energy fast. You need to either run or fight or whatever. You need energy. Well, the body is going to first start resorting to glycogen, right? In order for the body to break down glycogen, it needs to
Oh,
release insulin, right? And so when you're going into that position of insulin and glycogen, it's breaking down glycogen. Well, your body only has so much glycogen in its system, especially if you're doing a low carb diet, right? And so then from there, the next fuel source it's going to start going after is not fat, because fat is hard to break down. And guess what? Fat is your survival fuel source. It's going to be like, I'm gonna
yeah.
hold on to
Hold
this
on
shit.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
hold
so
on
it's
to
going to
this.
start breaking down proteins,
AKA
like you're a
that muscle.
muscle, like you're a muscle. So now your body is like, I'm going to go in survival mode. I'm going to hold on to this fat tissue because it gives me energy, and this muscle tissue, it's quick energy and it burns a lot of calories. I'm kind of trying to conserve energy right now. And I'm also trying to build energy too. So it's like breaking down and building up. And so that's why you can literally just like have a wonderful physique and eat and work out the same way that you do to get that physique. And then all of a sudden you add in chronic stress, and all of a sudden you start getting that skinny fat look. You start seeing your physique go away, and your internal health goes down, your mental health goes down as well. And so, yeah,
Yep.
that's why a lot of people start getting skinny fat over a period of time when they're chronically stressed. You also see a lot of accumulation around the belly area and the backside area as well, because the most amount of cortisol receptors are around that area, right? There's my boyfriend back there coming in. And so you'll start seeing accumulation of fat around that area. And it like people also refer to the stubborn fat. It doesn't want to leave. Also, it slows down your progress in the gym, because again, you're not recovering enough. In order for you to progress in the gym, you have to break down muscle tissue and recover back up, build it back up through recovery. Well, if you're chronically stressed, you're not recovering, and you're already breaking down muscle tissue too. So now you're turning into this person that's spinning their wheels, doing all this work not to see any results. So it's very frustrating.
Quick
Some
question
other
for the
things.
person. Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt.
No, you're
For the
good.
person that would prioritize, for as far as recovery and whatnot, like if someone was like literally so strapped for time, I've had some lawyers and whatnot, working and they're literally deciding between sleep or working out. Like, what is your suggestion for them with?
You best be sleeping.
Like
Because again,
if they're getting like 5 hours or sub 5 hours, like
yeah,
would you say
oh,
skip the
100%.
workout or like get the
Yeah.
workout? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's sleep. I know that a lot of people are like, but I'm like stressed and it's a mental release. And it's like, okay, great. It's therapeutic, but it's not therapy. Deal with your shit, like
Yeah.
deal with your stress through other means. But like, seriously, when you're trying to decide whether or not it's right or wrong, you have to think very objectively. Is this moving the needle forward right now? Well, we just talked about it. If you're chronically stressed and you're not recovering, that's not going to move the needle forward. It's moving it back. What is going to move the needle forward? Sleep. So pick the one that's going to move the needle forward, sleep, right? And then deal with your stress in another way.
And deal with it
Right?
another way. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. I just wanted to
exactly.
clarify that. I was like,
Yeah.
I figured that'd be your response, but
Oh, 100%. And like with the stress people, like we work with like busy and stressed people all the time, nurses, doctors, lawyers, people that work night shifts, all these different things. And one of the hard things that they have to realize is that because I am so stressed out, I can't take a lot of other stressors in my life. So they might actually start decreasing their workouts, decreasing their intensity, decreasing the time in the gym, and finding other ways to add in recovery, going into the parasympathetic side of things, more recovery with like walking outside and getting vitamin D, getting into nature, working on like the recovery yoga, the restorative yoga that you go, and you almost fall asleep at the end because you're so zen. Like you should be doing more of those. And people are like, but I want to beat up my body in the gym. I'm like, you can. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you're just going to get skinny fat. I'm just telling you that. Like it sucks. And they're like, oh, I don't want that. I'm like, okay, great. Let's do the other things. And then all of a sudden they're working out less. They're not trying so hard. They're spending less time in the gym, which frees more time up for the things they need to be doing, which reduces more stress. And all of a sudden fat starts coming off, inflammation goes away, bloating goes away. They start building muscle tissue with doing less work. And they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, I know. Like, this is what I'm trying to tell you.
It's trying to tell you.
Yeah, it's amazing. And some other things are like your essential organs, like your gut and your hormonal, your endocrine system is going to start down regulating. That's a huge reason why when you are stressed, you start developing hormonal issues and gut issues, is because when you are going into survival mode, you're about to fight the bear, right? Are you thinking about eating anything at that time?
Right.
No, nobody's like, I think I'm going to have a sandwich really fast. Right. Or you're not thinking about reproducing. You're not thinking
Yeah.
about the bound chicken wow wow. Like the body's not safe. It does not want to reproduce. It does not want to have a baby. It does not want to have sex. And whether or not you want to have a baby or have sex is beside the point. You still need balanced hormones to be healthy and get the physique and the performance that you want in life. Okay. It's a known fact. And so the reason why it starts down regulating is because your body's going into survival mode. It's going to stop sending blood flow to organs that are not key to survival. So that means your gut, your endocrine system, also like your brain as well. You'll start experiencing like brain fog, decision fatigue, because it's just like super fried. It's only sending blood flow to the key things that you need to be able to do in order to fight the bear. Right. So that's what, yeah, fight the bear. You also see slower metabolism because now you're breaking down muscle tissue and your body's going into survival mode. You'll also see like hair loss and accumulation of body fat, belly fat, like I said before. But on the mental side of things, you'll also see people becoming excessively sedentary, which is not good for you. People will start withdrawing. They'll also start avoiding other people, which like in order, socializing is an fundamental need for human beings to just be healthy. You need to be surrounded by people in person, not just social media, in person for you to thrive mentally and physically. And so people start withdrawing from other people, which makes things worse. They start seeing brain fog, decision fatigue. They get irritable. They start seeing mood swings, in some cases, like myself, anxiety and depression. But you'll also start seeing people start trying to cope with these emotions of chronically stressed through like excessive drug use, alcohol use, poor relationship with food, right? Either they start relying on emotional eating, which a lot of times people think emotional eating is just like binge eating, right? Or like snacking when they're bored and things like that. But another form of emotional eating or stressed eating that people don't realize is actually not eating. You can see a lot of people, there's like 3 different pathways that people either take. They either like binge eat uncontrollably. It's because they're super stressed out. And they're also like the mental side of things. They really need to deal with their emotions and address them, but they don't want to. So they're using another means. Or somebody that just does not eat at all. There are some people that are like, I could go days without eating and I'm fine because I'm so stressed out. And then there's people in the middle where they're like stressed out and they don't eat all day. And then when they get home where their body's finally like, I'm going to start recovering because I'm no longer in a stress mode. Now they're dealing with all these emotions, they're with their thoughts, and they'll start eating everything in sight. Right. And so like, that's a big part as to why stressed people have a really poor relationship with food. There's also obviously more reason to that, like trauma, inability to deal with their emotions, and ability to communicate, personal boundaries, all these different things that we can also work as well. But that's why a lot of times with our clients, when we address the stress, all of a sudden their relationship with food naturally gets better. It was the same thing with me. Like I didn't really, I've gone to therapy for my relationship with food, but some of the biggest changes I saw with my ability to make better decisions and not struggle with disordered eating patterns again was when I just addressed my stress, period. And it's actually a key indicator of if I am stressed and I need to start recovering is if I get snacky or I start eating when I'm bored. Like I clearly saw this yesterday.
That's an interesting way to think about it, but like as a stress marker for you,
yeah,
knowing that.
it's almost like biofeedback. Like I'm not sleeping, I have no hunger. It's also like, is your relationship with food issues coming back out? That could be because it's a trigger. Like when you're stressed, it's a trigger for a lot of people. So that's another marker that people can keep track of. And then like, honestly, when it comes to the mental side of things, when you are stressed, like I'm a big mindset geek. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert, but like whenever like mindset stuff comes up, I'm like, let's fucking read it. Let's go for it. Like, I love it so much. And so one of the things that you start seeing is like people start catastrophizing things. So that means like, I don't know if you've seen this reel online where it's like this beagle on the couch and it's like playing with a toy, and all of a sudden the toy falls on the ground and it looks at it for a second, and then all of a sudden it leans back and wails when it could have just like gotten off the couch, picked it back up, and then gone up. Like that's catastrophizing. Yeah, it's like you blow up situations that are normally not that big of a deal. Like people always experience this, especially when they're stressed out. It's like they make this tiny little thing a big fucking deal and they blow it up. And then a day later, when they calm down or they recover, they're like, oh, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
It's because you're stressed to the fucking max. Now, every once in a while is okay. We're human and we're also allowed to put ourselves in stress positions. That's okay. But it's when it's chronically like that and you're
Mm,
chronically catastrophizing things, it's like, of course, it's going to be harder for you to just live your life. And like, also, you can point this out to people too, is that when you're chronically stressed, right? Not only physiologically, your body is working against you. Now, mentally, your mind is working against you. And now you're trying to go and diet all the time. Of course, you're going to fall off. You're
yep.
literally working against yourself physically and mentally because you're stressed the fuck out. No
Yeah.
matter how hard you work, you're always going to derail yourself because you just need to address the stress first. Address the stress first. Your body is going to respond really well. All of a sudden, inflammation is going to go down. You're going to be more primed to making change. But mentally, you actually will want to do it. You'll actually want to move. You'll actually want to go to the gym. You'll actually want to socialize with people at the gym rather than being like, no people. Like you're actually setting yourself up for success to actually want to do the things when you actually address the stresses to why you're here.
Oh my
Right. So
gosh, yes. I
it's a
actually my sister is one who used to, and I don't think she'll mind. She listens to the podcast, and I know she won't mind me bringing her up. But she had like a bunch of gut health issues and got a bunch of tests done and whatnot. And it's like it really more so was stemmed from anxiety and stress. And it's like it brings it back to like, and I think it's even an amazing like epiphany for people. Like if you do have like some of your gut health issues and things like that could literally be like a stress issue like
oh,
going
100%.
on. And it's like that
100%.
brain gut connection. And like one easy way that I think about it is like, if you have that, like, what happens when you get nervous and you got to go shit your pants, right? Like there's literally that brain gut connection that happens, like,
100%.
and it's like, that's an easy way to look at it. But it's almost, I think really eye-opening to go like, what stress in my life is like could be the culprit of this. And like I haven't thought
Yes.
about it. What you said kind of was an eye opener for me too, because my tendency is the binger when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I am not the go for 3 days without eating person. Like
Yeah. So
I've
it's
never,
interesting
but
for me. Like when I get depressed, I don't eat. Like right after my divorce, I didn't eat. I lost 15 pounds and people are like, what happened? You look so great. And I was like, I got depressed.
not the
Like,
healthy way.
but like anxiety, that's when I start snacking and things like that.
Yeah.
The other thing, like I like that you brought up the gut health because it's really cool. So I'm always about, when people are like, okay, cool. So I know that I'm stressed. Should I deal with the mental or the physical side of things? Like I can only do one. And I'm like, I would like to push that perspective and ask you to do
Mm,
both at the same time. And the reason being is a lot of times the mind will follow the body and a lot, and the body will follow the mind too. But a lot of times the mind will follow the body. If you start taking action, you start moving yourself, your mind will actually
mm,
naturally start getting better right there. And also addressing like things like hormonal health and gut health can actually help mental health as well. So there's actually current research out today that makes it very interesting. I'm just showing that like your gut biome can literally determine your mood and your outlook in life. And there's also other research. I was listening to this on a podcast and they're talking about looking at mitochondria within the cells. And so mitochondria is a big, like the health of your mitochondria dictates like your ability to be resilient to stress and like your ability to slow down aging. Right. And so they took these two control groups and these two control groups had the same amount of stress in their life. And they're like, okay, this group is very resilient to stress. They look very young. While this group, same amount of stress, but they don't look that way and they don't act that way. What's the difference? From what they saw, the only difference was their mood. Right. So it's like everything is intertwined. I think that's one thing that I love speaking with people is that nutrition, fitness, and mental health and how you treat your body, it's not black and white. It's not this step is first and this step is second, and like this is better for you and this is not. It's all intertwined.
yeah.
And so when you were talking about this now, like a lot of people are like, oh, it's all intertwined. It's not super simple. Then what the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm super
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Yeah. It
So
creates more
let me
overwhelm.
pause and create a little bit of peace of mind. The
Yes.
magic
Please.
happens when you take a step back and ask yourself what's best for you. Nobody else. Right? Like, a lot of times people are like, this is the pathway, this is good or bad. One thing that I talk to my clients about a lot and I use in my life, I'm actually going to get this tattoo soon, is amor
Yeah.
fati. the love of fate. Nothing is good or bad. Your journey is your journey. It is supposed to happen the way it has happened in order to bring you to where you're at, where your feet is at today.
Oh, I
Right.
love
So
it.
like I could literally be like, oh, I fucked up my journey. I struggled for 10 years to get to where I'm at today. And like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, even if Jenny down the block lost 40 pounds in 6 months, she's not me. She's
Not
not
on
dealing
Jenny
with
Craig.
me. Exactly. And so when you realize that like what affects other people has nothing to do with you, you need to just keep your blinders on and focus on what works for you. Then you can start asking yourself the questions of like, okay, what are my North Stars? What are going to serve me best? What is going to fit into my lifestyle? What can I start with mentally right now? What can I change right now within my circumstances? But also create awareness of what my stresses are, because my stresses are different than you. And then how do I do that? That's one of the reasons why I strongly believe that we need to freaking take cookie cutter programs and throw it in the trash. It's because it's,
Throw them in the trash.
yeah, like it doesn't work for majority of people. If anything,
Mhm.
it exacerbates the problems that they're already facing and making it worse. And then now they're failing it and they're like, why can't I do this? And they don't believe in themselves, when it's actuality, the vehicle that you're using is not bringing you to your destination. You're in the wrong
Mm.
vehicle. You get the fuck out and figure out what vehicle that you need to be in so you can get to point A to point B a lot faster. Right.
Yes.
So,
Yes. I have to ask you, where are you getting your tattoo?
uh, okay, so I'm gonna get a bunch of tattoos.
Tramp stamp?
Yeah, like I'm gonna get a sleep tattoo with like the thin lines and everything like that. But I'm gonna get a more
Mm.
fatty right here. I've got like a cookie tattoo right here already.
Oh, so cute. She's got a
Yeah.
cookie tattoo on
Um,
her wrist. You really do love
yeah,
cookies. Now
I
we know it's
do.
true. No, I'm
I
kidding.
do. I even put it on my body. So, but I'm gonna get it right here just as a reminder every single day, because
Love
I
it.
struggle with this too. Like, guys, and me talking about this a lot of time, the big reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I struggle with this my whole fucking life. I just wanted to fix me. You'll
Mhm.
notice this, like a lot of coaches, literally, they became coaches because they see themselves in other people and they just want to fix them because they want to try to
Mm.
fix
Yeah.
themselves. Obviously we want to
So
help
true.
other people. It's always out of the goodness of our heart. But like when you really truly get back to it, it's like we're always trying to fix ourselves within other people. And so that's why I geeked out about it. Like, I'm not here like, you do this. Like, I struggle with this all the time. Like, I just said that, like, I got a little snacky yesterday because I got stressed. Like,
Yep.
and like, I need that reminder on my forehead to remember that like things are not good or bad. It just is. And it's what I do with it that matters. And this is like, I'm sure that a lot of people listening to this are going to be like, okay, so I'm stressed the fuck out. What the fuck should I do? What do I do? I think one, start with like, let's start talking about the mind, because this is an easy thing that a lot of people can just start with. The first thing is just create awareness. This is always the first step. Create awareness. What makes me stressed?
Yeah.
What are my stressors? But also, why are they stressing me out? Now, this is the hard work. You got to start looking internally. My friend Jared Hamilton, I'm sure that you know him. He's
Mhm.
really, really good with the inner game work, where like really addressing the inner child and healing and all that stuff. So you can finally get to dieting, because relationship with food is a really big thing. So like, yeah, you got to face the inner work. Go get therapy. Like, I seriously think this so much. Like, everybody's like, I want nutrition and fitness, and people don't need to be broken in order to get nutrition and fitness. Like, there's some really fit people out there that are like, literally, I just want to take care of myself more. I want to continuously get better, which is the ultimate form of self-love. Lack of
Yeah.
complacency, always looking for ways to get better out of a place that you believe that you are able, you are capable, and you are going to do something. This is called self-efficacy, right? A common
So
trait
good.
of extremely disciplined people too. They love themselves so much that they want to continuously find ways to treat themselves better.
Mm.
Right. And
So good.
with that being said, you also want to address the mindset. A big thing to help you become more resilient is you can either be the damsel in distress, or you can be the hero of your own damn story. Another way to
Ooh.
think of it is like, you can either be the gazelle or you can be the lion. Which one are you
Yeah.
going to be? The gazelle is always running away and being chased. Or are you going to be the lion that's going to be like, let's fucking go? They're both stressed out, but it's two different types of
They're
stresses,
that's a good point. They're both
right?
stressed out.
So
Yeah.
focus on the
Yeah.
mindset, dude. Like, how are you
Mhm.
thinking? How are you perceiving? Because how you think and how you perceive creates reality,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes,
so
more than anything else.
mindset work is a really big thing that we work with our clients as well. And then also, like, on the physical side of things, I strongly am a huge proponent of strength training. I mean, I know a lot of people go into the side of things that are like, cardio is bad, you don't have to do it. It's like, what makes you fat? I'm like, no, cardio is actually really good for mental health, and it makes sex better, which helps release stress too. That's another pro tip. Go have sex. Like,
I was like, sex is a good form of cardio too, though. So.
oh yeah, that's too, right? But like strength training is wonderful for you because it creates a stress. So when you're exposed to stress, a progressive overload stimulus, where you're stimulating yourself, and over a period of time, it gets easier and easier. Like when you first started school, day number one, you were super stressed, or like driving a car, you were like super stressed. And then over a period of time, those stimuluses became easier and easier because you were exposed to them over a period of time. It's the same thing here, like going to the strength training, going into strength training, you're constantly stressing yourself within a constructive manner, as long as you recover, please. Now you're becoming more resilient to stress, but that bleeds into other areas of life and allows you to become more resilient to mental stress. I say that strength training helps you become harder to kill. Yes. Also, I heard this, and it's really interesting. I haven't looked into it too much, but I heard this concept that when you contract your muscle tissues, it releases these proteins, like hope proteins, that help you think better and feel better and be more resilient to stress as well. And like there's so many other benefits to it, but mentally you just become more confident in yourself. Like I did, like I had the confidence to like go after my dreams. I had confidence to get out of that abusive relationship and deal with my fucking shit. And it all started with the fact that I started pushing myself in the gym, and I started achieving things I never thought possible for myself. So strength training is a really big thing that I really am a huge proponent on. Sleep is the magic pill that nobody's willing to take. Please sleep. It's amazing for you in all areas of life. It's like, seriously, like sleep, please, please, please.
Magic.
Every single time I end like a live training in my Facebook group, I'm like, go sleep. Like it's that important. Yes. Some other things are like, go get sunlight, getting vitamin D every single day, getting back out into nature, like literally changes your mood. It helps you reduce stress. Meditation also, like you cannot ignore the research today on how much it impacts your ability to reduce stress, to live a longer and healthier life. It is amazing for you. Journaling too. I think that all those different things are amazing. Another cool thing that you can use in acute moments is breath work. And it works vice versa. You can actually use this as a tool to either reduce stress or really kick in the adrenaline and the cortisol to perform better. So like if you're super stressed, work on your breath. A lot of times people start breathing through their mouth and they start like cortisol and adrenaline starts going up, because that's what happens when you are stressed. You go versus when you are actually relaxed, you go, slows down things and slows down your heart rate and gets you into more of the parasympathetic system. Right. And so
good.
Going into more, like, I would say there's different methods of breathing, and whatever you want. I would just start small and just start slowing down your breath to help you calm down. So if you feel like you're anxious or you feel like you're building this pressure up, take a step back, go into a quiet room, get away from stimuluses, even close your eyes or turn down the lights, turn on some like soothing music that makes you go, and just start breathing. Just start breathing, slowing things down, and vice versa. Like this is actually a common tactic within athletes or people that are getting ready for a presentation, things like that. They'll start bringing that breath up, and then you can naturally start feeling your heart rate going up, and then you can naturally start feeling more awake and more awake and more awake. And then they go and lift. I've seen powerlifters do this. I've seen weightlifters do this too. Like people that are really going into an acute moment where they have to be fucking on, they'll start doing that too. So I've also seen powerlifters get slapped in the face. That's another way to get
That's another way to
most
wake
people
up.
Are like, I don't want to be slapped in the face. That doesn't sound fun.
I'll do my own breathing technique before getting slapped in the face.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's so many, like, and here's the thing is like, we're very dynamic human beings. There's so many ways to skin the cat. Again, go back to your own core values and what you believe in and what helps you. Like, for example, when I feel stressed, I go to Super Target and I go in the dollar section. I'll buy some stupid shit that I don't need. I'm not going to question it. It helps me. There's some people that love to color. There's some people that love to go hiking. Hiking is a really great way for me to really de-stress. Actually, my boyfriend and I, like, this is a really big thing that I've noticed is just getting away from social media, turning it off. We like go out into nature. Right now we're really into paddleboarding. He's got this paddleboard. I'm about to buy one too. I'm literally passenger princess on that paddleboard. He's just like going out, I'm just like tanning, but like I feel so much better by the end of the day because I've got sunlight. I'm out. I'm away from social media. And social media, I know. Yeah, socializing too. getting connected, talking about conversations and really creating like true intimacy with somebody is really great for you as well. And then social media, like news, things like that. I wouldn't say, like, I'm not a huge fan where people are like, just get off of social media. Don't look at news and TV. And I'm like, that's very black and white thinking. I think a better way to do that is like, please still be informed, still acquire knowledge. Social media is probably one of the best tools out there to still acquire knowledge
Yeah,
and
it's
help
true.
yourself grow. View it as a tool, like a hammer. You can build a house up or tear it down. It's how you use it that matters. You don't blame the hammer, you blame the person and how they're using it, or the person that taught them how to use that hammer.
Mm,
And so
so good.
let's not demonize social media. Let's just pay attention to who you're following. Are you
So
following
good.
people that adds value to your life? Are you creating personal boundaries? Like, for example, I don't touch my phone after like 7:30 or 8. Even if I want to, my boyfriend steals my phone and is like, nope, puts it on the
Oh, go
charger. He's like, you're
boyfriend.
paying attention to me. I'm like, attention whore, but it works. Like
Yeah.
it helps you down regulate and things like that. So there's so many different methods. Again, take a step back and ask yourself what is going to be best for you. Is it addressing chronic undereating? Is it addressing your gut health? Is it addressing getting therapy? Is it getting more sunlight in nature? Is it going out and getting connected with other people? And then over a period of time, you're going to do a trial and error and figure out what's going to work for you. And then you're going to thrive. So
Yes, thriving on.
thriving
So we're
on.
thriving on. So we're gonna first address it or figure out what it is going on: mindset,
Mhm.
sleep, strength train,
Mhm.
workout, socialize. What were the other
Go
ones?
have sex.
Go have sex.
Lots of sex. That's another thing is that here's 3 things. It makes it really simple. I love saying this and clients like giggle, but it's true. Like here in bringing it really simple. It is more complex than this, but this is a really great start. If you wake up every single day happy, hungry, and horny, you know that internally your body's not super stressed and you're more than likely going to have a little bit of a healthier hormonal balance and gut health and things like that. It's just a sign that your body feels safe and you are in um, a homeostasis, or that balance that we're talking about, the harmony that we're talking about earlier. So people are like, oh, it's like, it's true. Like your libido is a huge indicator whether or not you're stressed or not. Going back to, you don't want to have babies when you're being chased by a lion. So when people are like, I haven't had a libido in years, I'm like, dude,
Oh no.
one, that fucking sucks.
Yeah,
Two, you got stressed out. Like you are
yeah.
stressed to the max. We've got to address this. And then like people are like coming back to me and they're like, dude, my sex life is the best ever. And I'm like, yes, let's go. Like, no such thing as
You-
TMI here. We want to hear that shit.
You're
So.
like, your husband can thank me for that one.
Yeah, like, yep.
You're
You
welcome.
can send me a gift or a gift card for that shit. Like,
I like Target gift cards. Thank you.
yes.
Okay.
Amazon too. I've got a couple
Yeah.
things in my cart that I want to check out on. So just saying.
So good. So good. Well, thank you so much for your
Of
time.
course.
This has
Of
been
course.
freaking amazing. I mean, so many nuggets out of this. I've learned something out of this. I know everyone else listening has too. My one last question for you before we hop off would just be, if you were someone starting their journey today, what would you suggest that they do? And, or what is something that you would have done differently starting out on your journey, somewhere that they can start?
Oh, I love that. So what I would suggest everybody do to start with is find something that you like. Just find something that you like, and also just find a good group of people or a good coach or something like that. Because that connection, especially when you are very emotional, like a lot of like nutrition fit is extremely emotional for a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not. And so getting yourself surrounded by the right type of people and just doing something that you actually like is a big thing. Like one of the things that we at Thriving On is like, we want lifelong change. There's no tolerance for anything else. We're not here for the quick fix or cookie cutter programs or yoga dieting. We need to make this for life. And so if you're doing something that you don't like, it doesn't matter how perfect it is, you're not going to be able to do it. And
Yep.
I would take a mediocre approach that you actually like, that you could show up and confidently say that you can do for the rest of your life, over the perfect program that you burn out and you fucking hate every single day. Right? Like do what
Yep.
you like.
So true.
Don't try to be perfect. Just start with what you like and just start stepping. And then
Love
like
it.
something that I would do differently, of starting off is, okay, this is like actually a big mistake that I made when I was first starting out. And one of the reasons why I am here today helping other people is, like I didn't ask for help. And when I did, I asked for the wrong type of help.
Ah,
Right. The whole time when I was going through that stuff, I played the damsel in distress. Something I was always like, I'm stuck. Woe is me. Like, why is this happening to me? And in that position, when you are a damsel in distress, like, here's the thing is nobody's fucking coming to save you. Like, there's no
mhm.
white knight being like, ha ha, princess, I'm gonna come get you. Like, you're stuck. You have the shovel in your hand and you're digging the hole. The only way to get out of it is start putting the dirt back in yourself.
Mm.
And so when you take extreme amount of ownership and do that, now you can also ask for help too.
Oh my gosh. So
You
good. The
can't do this
ownership
alone.
part, man. I feel like it's
Yeah.
gotta start there at the
Yeah,
ownership.
100%. Like
Yeah.
and it's hard putting that figurative mirror of like owning your shit. Like nobody forced me to be in an abusive relationship. Nobody threw wine down my throat. That was my favorite drink. I drank wine bottles like it was nothing. Like drinking one wine bottle and the whole night is nothing. And now like one drink, I'm like, woo, like I'm
Woo!
good. So saves me a lot of money for sure.
It's
But
Well, and
like,
speaking of real quick too, have you seen
yeah.
any of those elixir things? I was like, I'm about to feel like I'm about to start spending more money on drinks because they're like the alcohol alternatives. Like they have like the adaptogens and stuff. They're like an
So what?
elixir.
Can
Yeah.
you send that to me?
Yeah, I will. I've seen Instagram has been hitting me up with a bunch of ads for it because I think
Oh,
it
they know
knows
what
that.
you look at.
Yeah, I
The
know. I'm like, it knows I'm drinking less. And so they're like, here's all these adaptogen, like elixir drinks. They're like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
soothing and helps with sleep. I'm like, oh, I have to try this. And now I'm just going to spend more money on drinks. But anyway,
It's fine. I mean, you're gonna spend money either way.
either way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Oh,
I
well, so good. Thank you so much. Where can everyone find you? I will drop your information in the show notes, but
yeah.
where's the best place to find you and
Best place
follow
to
you?
find me is Instagram. I like
Okay.
Instagram the best. I've tried TikTok and I'm kind of growing there, but it's hard. I'm an old
It's
lady
hard.
in a young body. Like I'm like technology. So I
Hey,
got Instagram going. We also have a
nice.
Facebook group called the Surviving to Thriving Fat Loss, Nutrition, and Fitness Secrets. Sorry,
Awesome.
the FFFF.
So-
I started over my words. So you can also get there because we're pretty active in there and any questions like that. And we help with like looking at blood work and all that stuff in there too. And then yeah, like the information's there. My email's in there too. Like I don't bite. Like I like it when people talk to me. Just not after 8 p.m. where I'm nappy and I want to sleep.
Go to sleep is what she would say.
Go to
Go
sleep.
to sleep. Oh, so good. Well, thank you so much. This has
You're
been
welcome.
amazing.
Thank you for having me on. This is so much fun.
Yes, absolutely.